Ryan, the broker. So with that, take it away, Randall.
Hey everybody, Randall here. Thanks Amanda for inviting me on to this to talk self-storage. And to everybody that's in NC REIA, my name is Randall. I am the co-founder and COO of Military First Investment Group. We're based out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where we specialize in heavy value add distressed self-storage. And what we're going to talk about today is a case study on my first self-storage facility that I bought in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Excuse me. If I'm a little laggy, I am at a mastermind event in Charleston, South Carolina, where there's 25 other investors doing the same thing, checking emails, talking, but they're all in self-storage, right? So I will share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. Can everybody see my screen?
I think it's coming up, I think.
Yep, we got it.
F5. Go full screen.
Roshini map, check your chats, please.
So it's coming up. There we go. All right, so the agenda for tonight is why I love self-storage, cash flow analysis, and we'll go over some Q&As. So I really started investing in 2011 in some long-term rentals and a mobile home park. But what drove me to self-storage is in long-term rentals, when, for instance, if you buy a really good deal and you have to replace a roof and you're only cash flowing, $400 or $500 a month, that roof that costs $10,000 completely wipes away your profits for that year, right? So that's kind of what drove me to self-storage. And that's one of the reasons why I love self-storage. But another reason why I love self-storage is it's lien laws versus eviction laws, right? So if Amanda comes to me and rents a 10 by 10 unit for me and she does not pay, I don't have to go to the court system. I don't have to go and file eviction. I literally go to my self-storage facility and I put a red lock on the door, and then I remove her gate access code from the facility. So she won't be able to get in. She won't have access to her stuff. And then if she does, for instance, find a way to get in, whether, she cuts through the gate, she drives through, follows somebody in through the gate, she's now trespassing. So I really love lien laws, super easy, versus paying $125 a month to evict somebody and then wait the 60 to 90 days to right. The ability to remove tenant access, I already covered that from the facility. Overlock the tenant, which we discussed, super easy. I overlock my processes. On the 10th of the month, you're late, right? On the 11th, I overlock you. If you haven't paid by the 11th of the month, you get overlocked. Then my process, North Carolina laws, is I can put a lien on your property at 30 days. My process is 60 days, right? Because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt with COVID and, employment and everything like that. People fall on hard times, right? So I give them 60 days. On that 60th day, I file an ad in the paper. On that 75th day, I auction your stuff off. I give you 15 days from the day that I put you in the paper that you owe me money, that I auction your stuff.
So Randall, I think this is a super important question, right? Are you the auctioneer, or do you have somebody come in and do that?
No, so I have my father-in-law, he's an auctioneer. So he comes in, he does it for me. First of all, I can't speak that fast. And second of all, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to auction stuff. But he comes and he does it for me. But now I just learned, because this is my first auction, there's an even easier way to do auctions. You can go to a third-party auction site like Treasure Storage or Storage Auctions Online, and then you don't have to put it in the paper, right? Because North Carolina law says if you do an online auction, you don't have to put in the paper. So that saves me $130. I just spent $130 to auction property. But if I do it online, that saves me that fee. But guess what? I take that fee of $130 and I charge the tenant an auction fee of $80. For each tenant, they get a $80 fee on top of their what they owe me for me auctioning off their stuff. And I apply that fee at 60 days. So, you always give back. And in a rental, you cannot apply, correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot apply an eviction fee to what the tenant owes you. In self-storage, you can add that fee to the tenant's bill.
And Terrence has a question. Does it have to be auctioned or can you just like sell it somewhere on eBay or something?
No, the reason it's a controlled environment, the only way you cannot auction the item off, if you as the owner feel that that piece of equipment or that storage locker is less than $100. If I open up the locker to do my inventory at 60 days and it's a bunch of wood and it's a bunch of, trash in there that nobody's going to pay for, I can literally put that in the back of my truck and take it to the dump site, sweep out the unit, roll the door down, and be done with it. I don't have to auction it off. But I, as the owner, have that option to know if it's worth more than $100. So if I open up a 10 by 10 unit and it's full of household items, dressers, things like that, I know, hey, antique stuff is going to be worth more than $100. I can take it to the dump site. So
I have another question on this. Sorry to derail on auction stuff. It's really interesting. So do you keep the money? Like, let's say there's $1,000 worth of stuff in the unit. Do you keep that or do you pass that back minus the fees that you charge to the person who rented it?
So I have to pass that on. So I have to keep it 9 times out of 10 when you are auctioning a self-storage unit, the tenant ghosts you, right? Their address isn't functioning, their phone numbers don't work anymore. So I have to keep it in a separate account for 12 months. Right. And then at the end of that 12 month, that money comes back. But if if Amanda comes to me and says, hey, I fell on hard times, 4 months ago, you auctioned off my stuff, and I have to keep, receipts and all that documents in a file. How much did you get for it? Oh, well, I made $1,000. You owed me 500. Here's your $500. And I give it back to you. Any more questions? Awesome. All right. Largely recession proof.
Oh, sorry. We did have one. Raghunath asks, do you need to notify them if they're late for their payment? Like, how do you let people know?
So I have a property management software system. They automatically send emails to the email and the phone number that you registered on my website with. So they automatically send you a late notice on the 5th, late payment on the 6th, and an overlock notice on the 11th. They also send you a lien letter, pre-lien letter on the 30th day. They automatically send you a gut lot letter and a lien letter on the 60th day. That's all my letters that go out.
Cool.
I put in that in paper.
What software do you use for that?
I use Easy Storage Solution. It's pretty easy. They give you a website. They take online payment. They provide tenant protection. These are just add-ons that software allows you to use, and it's just another stream of revenue.
Cool. And then Douglas is asking, can the auction be private or public? And can you reserve the right to have a private or public auction of the items?
The auction has to be public, and you have to, if you are doing a paper ad, it has to be public. Everybody has to know that these people are you're auctioning off these people's stuff. Be a public website. I can't hold it on my website, but hey, I'm having an auction here, and not let anybody else know. It's got to be fair across the board. Okay, any more questions on auctions?
Alicia says, how many auctions do you have a month?
This will be my first one in 6 months, right? So I try not to hold them. I try to auction them off so that way everything is auctioned off on the 15th of the month. So like right now, one of my tenants is 80 days past due, but a tenant ghosted me, just kind of broke ties with me, changed email addresses, changed phone numbers. So I wanted to wait for that tenant to hit 60 days. I did my auction. So that way I had 3 lockers instead of 1 locker for the 130. So it's all about timing. Okay. So this is a profitable business, not only during the good times, but also the bad times, right? So for instance, interest rates went up. Everybody's used to paying 2 and 3%. You know, everybody has seen the Facebook post of what $3,500 gets you at 3% interest. You can buy an $800,000 house, right? But now with the interest rates going up, you can only get a $600,000 house. When times are good, people buy things, right? And when times are bad, people downsize. They can't buy a bigger house. So when they go from 3,600 to 2,400, what are they going to do with 1,200 square foot of stuff? Are you going to sell it? I know probably majority of these people in this room will not sell any of their items. So what do? They take it to storage. They store it in my locker and they pay me. Right now, a 10 by 20 that I get is $115 a month. Right, so they pay me $115 a month to store the items that they can't fit in their house. I have a client that has 3 lockers with me, and she literally stores her Christmas items, her Halloween decorations, you know, her Easter like all her decorations that she can't fit in her house and don't have room in her house for. She stores them with me, and she pays me $300 a month because she has 3 lockers. You know, so people don't want to get rid of their stuff. Right, during the Great Recession of 08, self-storage was among the only real estate class that produced positive returns. The returns were not as large as they are today, but they were probably, I think they were, you know, this was 2 to 3% positive during the 08 recession. And why that is, because again, people didn't want to get rid of their stuff. They needed a place to store their items. Right? In past recessionary periods, self-storage occupancy and revenues were generally not negatively impacted. Again, we just discussed this. People will not and don't want to get rid of this stuff. We talked about this today at the mastermind. Is one of, you know, the mastermind that's running the group. He builds ground up developments, 100,000 net rentable square feet at a time. And he literally had a customer who had their grandmother's coffee table. The only thing that she had, she didn't want to get rid of it. She didn't want it. Her kids didn't want it. She couldn't sell it, but she didn't get rid of it. Right? So what did she do? She put it in self-storage. And she paid $80 a month for this table, antique table to sit in there. And guess how long she's been in his unit? 10 years. Right? Again, because people don't want to get rid of it. You know, so they store it. You know? In fact, for most facilities, revenue continue to increase year after year. Amanda, if you were in an apartment right now, and you were paying $2,000 a month, and I increase your rent by 20% or 20%, what's the increase on that? $400, right? So if I told you, hey, Amanda, your apartment rent is $2,000 to $2,400, you gonna stay there? Or are you gonna move?
I'm probably not the right person to ask that.
Okay.
But I can see how a lot of people would move and store their stuff.
So for me, I raise my rents by 10% or 20% in the middle of summer, which ranges between, you know, $8 and $16 on an $80 unit. Are you going to move all of your stuff out of a 10 by 20
Absolutely not. There's no way in the world I would move anything
in
for that much.
in North Carolina? I can raise my rents every 7 months on a month-to-month. Don't hold long-term leases. I can literally give them a 30-day notice and I can raise their rents $5. I can raise it by a percentage. And you always do it at the worst time because people don't want to do any work in the heat, in the cold, right? So you just, like anything else that you do, you have to be strategic with it. There's a reason and there's a rhyme behind the process in order to maximize your profit, right? And be prepared to answer the question, right? If I bought this self-storage facility and I raised the rents, why did I raise the rents? Well, guess what? The county raised the rents on me. My insurance premiums went up. My electric bill went up. Inflation, right? So it takes more money for me to pay my bills to make sure that you have a safe facility, right? So,
Hey, Randall, we have a couple questions, like, how long do residents or tenants, what do you call them? Not residents, what are they?
customers,
Customers, okay. What is the average length of time a customer keeps their unit?
man, on my facility, I've had people that moved in August and that are still there. Right when I bought the facility, they came with the facility and they're still paying. But I had no track record of how long they were there, right? Because the previous owner didn't have any leases. He's like, "Oh, here's a notebook paper with all your tenants and their name and phone numbers."
Mhm.
When I bought in August, they were there and they're still there. And I have a guy who literally drops the check off in the mailbox and don't even go and look at his facility. Like, he's like, "Here's your money," right? He's got a car there and he's got a 10 by 10, literally. And I might ask him next week, when he pays, I'm like, "Hey man, how long have you been here?" Because I don't know on this facility. So,
And then Terrence is also asking, and you don't have to answer this now if this is something you're going to address later, but obviously there's a lot of competition with new facilities popping up everywhere. So how do you, sort of see that in the broader landscape of self-storage?
yeah, so that's the mastermind of that today. These guys do ground up developments. And that question actually got brought up today. Is most of the large REITs, real estate investment trusts, family owned offices that buy self storage, they don't mind undercutting the mom and pop facilities, the one owners or the two facility owners, get them out of the game, right? But again, you as an owner have to provide value that those REITs are not, right? They're not giving you the personable. They're not giving you the, "Hey man, let's talk. Oh, you have hard times. Give me a call. Let's work it out." They're not giving you that personal introduction. They're a business and that's how they run it. So if you don't pay, you don't pay. Right. And they're okay. So, and what they do is they cut prices. So for instance, if they buy a brand new facility and they want to lease it up, they get you moved in, right? And they get you moved in with these specials that, hey, half off, your first month's rent. And then what they do is they jack the rents up to $200 a month or $160 a month, right? And a lot of people in America are lazy and they're like, I don't want to move, right? I'll just pay the $160 a month. I'm already settled. I'm already established. So I'm not going to do it. All right. So you just have to provide that expert customer service because the difference between being a long-term rental and self-storage is a day-to-day business operation. You have operation. It's a real estate asset class that is valued based off of your net operating income, which is what we'll talk about here. But it's a customer service based business. You buy a business. Right.
We have a lot of other questions, but I'm going to hold on them because they're pretty tactical. So let's get through the case study and then we'll come back to the more like tactical stuff.
Yeah, I'll speak through this real quick. So why I like self-storage value add components is because a lot of the mom and pop facilities that I run across don't apply technology that could be beneficial. Online bill pay, online rental process, tenant protection, website, things like that. Because 9 times out of 10, when you get a self-storage facility, they're gonna go near me, right? And they're gonna pull a 3 to 5 mile radius, and whatever's closest to them in that 3 to 5 mile radius, they're gonna pick up the phone and they're gonna call, right? If you answer the phone or you direct them to the website, you're gonna get that customer 9 times out of 10. And again, the client doesn't always necessarily want to directly deal with the kind of share, right? So you give them the phone, you give them the online option, and you make it simple, easy, and they can go from there. Like, I don't need to answer the phone for somebody to rent a unit. They can go to my website and they click on Google and it says rent here, and it literally follows you step by step to rent a unit. The more self-service it can be from sign in to access, so the clients are willing to pay for it, right? Ease of operation, people want to pay for easy. Technology is something that really appeals to me, and self-storage is a rinse and repeat, right? Every long-term rental has its different problems, right? You're gonna have good tenants, you're gonna have bad tenants, you're gonna have a good flip, a bad flip, right? With self-storage, I can literally get systems and process in place, add my value, I can clean up the facility, and then I run every facility the exact same way. I don't have any issues. All right, so now we're gonna talk about cash flow analysis. So I purchased in August of 2021 a 4,000 net rentable square foot facility, and that's what NRSF stands for, on 2.25 acres in a small town, busy road in between Spring Lake, North Carolina, and Wilmington, North Carolina, called Bunlow. It probably gets about 14,000 vehicles per day, and I bought it for $125,000. So I paid $125,000 divided by 4,000, which I had a purchase price of $31.25 per square foot. And the average cost to develop, build with land purchase is between $25 and $70. When you buy the land, it's upwards of $70 price. But if you're buying the building, it's a little lower towards the 25. So I'm expanding on this property right now at roughly $27 a square. That's dirt, concrete, building, and having the building erected. My operating expenses, because I remotely run the facility and I do not have anybody on site, ranges between 35 and 40%. As I fine tune my details, I can get my operating expenses as low as 25%. As my run the facility, I have electricity, taxes, insurance. Really, that's it, and then I have a little odds and ends, somebody cuts the fence, if I have to repair a door, things like that. But most of my operating expenses are electricity, taxes, and insurance.
And Randall, there's a sort of relevant question on here. So it sounds like your units don't have air conditioning, right?
I do not run climate controlled currently.
Okay.
But we talked about that here at the facility here. Their climate control operating expenses run between 45 and 50% because they have a constant steady flow of electricity and AC running. So their climate control is going to be a little bit more expensive to operate. And then when you have the nicer 100,000 net rentable square feet facility, you have to have somebody on site. So you got to pay payroll, things like that. I started at 40% occupancy in August. I am currently operating at 100%, minus that's including my two auctions, but I have a waiting list. So when those auctions are done and cleared out, I'll have somebody in those units the next day. So a quick question, and not really a question, but a comment I want to say. For most of you that operate long-term rentals in here, for Amanda, you can probably answer this question. How much does it cost you to turn one of your rental units on average?
I don't know. We don't even have any more single family homes.
For your mobile home, for your park-owned home, how much does it cost to turn it?
Randall, nothing. We'll talk about mobile home parks another day. That's an even better asset class, but I don't know. What do y'all think the short-term rentals? Put it in the chat, like $1,200, something like that to turn a unit over? I don't remember. Oh, so how much is yours, Randall?
So I just turned a unit for $4.25.
Nice.
Right. And what it was is somebody had some wood in there and they had a little mess in there. So I had to go to the Dollar Tree and I bought a bucket, some chemicals and a scrub brush. And I literally scrubbed the concrete, let it dry, vacuumed it up a little bit, and then I closed the door and locked it and it was ready. Right. So I like to really hit that home, especially for all my multifamily people. They're like, oh man, $2,500 to flip a unit, paint, carpet, sometimes new cabinets, things like that. Self-storage is not a sexy asset class by no means, right? When you talk about self-storage, it's not sexy. Concrete and steel and some dirt, right? But it cash flows and it's an easy asset. Right. So I just wanted to make sure, I just want to hit that home real quick. Right. So here's a little bit of my, from August to December, I collected $5,871 in rent. I created, another cash flow avenue by creating setup fees, or another word called admin fees, administration fees. So these are non-refundable, quote unquote, deposits. $315. If I named it a deposit, I would have to hold it into a trust account and give it back to them. But it's administration fee. It's for me to go in, set up your lock, sweep out your unit if I need to, and go on the website and manage the website, look at, things like that. I created a tenant protection of $647.76 by providing protection insurance for the tenants. And then I created $389 in late fees, which totaled $7,222.76 during my lease up phase. Right. And that's just from August to December. I haven't done the updated numbers. I have 2 more facilities that I am focusing on right now because this one is stabilized. So one mistake I did make, because I went with a hard money lender, was I didn't go straight to street rate or market rate from the beginning, because I was scared. It was my first time being in self-storage. I had a 12% interest only payment that was due 1 October. So I didn't, everybody that was paying $50 maintained paying $50. Everybody that moved in during that process went to market rate. And I'm still playing catch up with these individuals. My second facility, I went to market rate, right? Which they paid $45 for a 10 by 10 and they paid $85 for a 10 by 20. But I went to market rate, which was, 65 and 110. And I lost half of my people, but I got new tenants and it's paying market rate, which covered the people that lost. And I'm at 88% occupancy on that facility as well. So,
Can you talk a little bit about the occupancy piece? Like, why was it so low when you bought it? And then how did you get that occupancy from like 30% to full?
Yeah. So the reason that it was so low is because, nobody wants to drive down a dark alley. Nobody wants to go to the Walmart that's in, the hood, right? They want to store their things. Look at self-storage as an attachment of your home. You don't leave your house with your door unlocked anymore. You always leave a light on, right? So 90% or 65% of the individuals that rent self-storage are females, right? So this storage facility, when I bought it, was dark, dreary. It was overran, condemned, like it was just a junkyard. There was no lights, there was no security, no cameras, anything like that. So the occupancy went down because the management went down, right? So what I did is I took it over, I cleaned it up. It took 6 30-yard dumpsters of trash, right? I put an operating system, a gate operating system in there with a keypad. I put perimeter lighting in there. I installed cameras, right? And I gave them the value that they were paying for. So that's how I added value. And then I put a sign up. Once I put a sign up and I put, you know, feather flags out there letting, hey, new management, new owners, and people started driving by. I have a tenant that's in there right now that said, man, I drive by this facility every day to and from Fort Bragg, North Carolina for 3 years. And I didn't know this place was here because it was an eyesore. Nobody knew it was there. They just rode by. I was like, oh man, this is just somebody's yard. But it was a self-storage facility. I seen the opportunity and I took it and I did what the owner couldn't do. That's why it went from 35% to 100%.
Nice. And how many units do you have again?
So I have 40 units, 10 parking pads right now.
Nice.
Right. So right now for all new tenants, they're paying 35 to 50, 115 units, ranging for a parking spot to 10 by 20. So rents alone from 4,000 net rentable square feet was $2,065. So now I bumped the rates up starting 1 July by $5 a unit for everybody that's not at market rent, which will increase another $200 a month. Right, so that'll put me right at $2,200. Okay. So this was old again. The banker quit on me. It's hard trying to find good work nowadays. So I'm in the process of cash out refining. So I have to readjust the term sheet. So that don't count really. But the appraisal came back at $260,000, and we were all in for 150. Right, so literally in 90 to 120 days, I created $110,000 of equity on paper, literally by going in there and cleaning up a facility. Literally just did a little bit of sweat equity and I made $110,000 in 120 days. What I'm going to do when I cash out refi, I'm going to expand on the property, add another 18 units, add another $1,500 a month in cash flow, which will cover $1,500 a month, will cover my mortgage payment, will cover my insurance, will cover my taxes, and all that. And then the $2,200 that I was previously making will be cash flow. So I'll pull $67,000 out. Now this was at 70%. I'll build another 20 by 100, which will give me 16 10 by 10s, 2 10 by 20s, which will rent for 75 and 115, which will create $1,400 and $30. I'll create $81 a month for tenant protection, $270 for admin fees, no telling on late fees, right? But I will also, by me pulling out $67,000, expanding on the property, I will create another $150,000 in equity in that property. My building, turnkey, dirt, concrete building, and the erection of the building at the time was $54,000 to $55,000. As everybody knows, material has gone up, so I'm probably closer to $60,000 now.
And for how many units was that?
So it'll be 18.
Do you know why what did they tell you with the appraisal coming in at 260?
So there has not been in the market, there has not been a sale of self-storage in that area. So that's why they based it off of a cap rate, and they did some market analysis on what the other buildings had done outside of my market had sold for. That's why it came in versus now the 300 to 315 was my calculations based off of a cap rate based off of my NOI, right? So I calculated at a 7.5 cap, right, between $300,000 and $315,000. But I'm okay with 260. These again were just speculations and calculations based off of NOI. So here's a little video. This is the end of my presentation. We'll get into some Q&As. But this is what it looked like when I bought it.
If no one invests in you, invest in yourself. If no one believes in you, believe in yourself. Even if you don't see the results right away, keep showing up until you do see the results. Even if you don't see the results for a very, very long time, keep showing up. What if the results don't come? They're not going to come if you quit. Keep showing up. I'm tired. Keep showing up. I don't feel like it. Keep showing up. I can't see the results. Keep showing up. I don't know where to start. Just start.
Right. So as you can see, it was a lot of work. Right. But I did it. Right. Now, how many of you in this room would have driven past that? How many people in this room seen that as an opportunity? Right. We probably drive by opportunities every day on our way in and out of work or W-2 and don't look twice at it. I found this facility driving to Harnett County to evict a tenant out of one of my long-term rentals. And I said, you know what, man, that facility looks run down. On my way back home, I'm going to pull in, I'm going to call the number, and I'm going to ask the guy if he wants to sell it. So I pulled in, called the number, the guy answered the phone, and he said, yeah, man, you know, me and my partner, we're at wit's end. We're having some issues. We just want to sell it. We just want to get rid of it. So at one point in time, I had him down to $112,000. It was hard finding somebody that could close quick because push come to shove, we found out it was in pre-foreclosure because of COVID. The bank would have already owned that property. So, all right, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Self-storage is easy. What questions do we have, Amanda?
All right, so we have a couple of questions. What is your break-even occupancy?
My
Of
break
your,
was 40%. I was covering all of bills at 40%.
okay, cool. Let's see. How might this be different in Raleigh or Charlotte? Terrence, do you want to elaborate a bit on which piece might be different? All right, if Terrence wants to come in a minute, you know, that could go in a million directions, Terrence. So if you have like some specific part. And then Jaron is asking, like, what did you spend on the down payment? I think you said it was 25,000 for the rehab, but
So I went hard money. As anybody knows in real estate, hard money is very, very expensive. So I got a lien on my house, on one of my rental properties. We ended up putting $40,000 down because I went with a broker. I ended up paying like 4 or 5 points because it was such a small deal. It took me 3 hard money lenders to say, yeah, I'll do it. But I believed in this project so much, and I believe in self-storage, and I know the value that is there. It didn't matter what it took, I was going to get it. Right. So we were all in, you know, down payment and everything at like 155. And the hard money lender paid for some of the repairs, you know, fixed the fence and the dumpsters and all of that. That was all included in the loan.
well, I think we've gotten through the questions. Okay, Doug says, are you able to help someone get started with a new construction storage facility? Right. Where would you go? Randall, like, do you have contacts? Where would you go to learn about new construction storage?
And that's where I'm at right now. I'm actually learning about new construction, ground up self-development. For the first place that I would go, right, for that is educate yourself, find someone who is doing it or has done it. And this guy's name is Joe, and he's on his 9th facility, ground up development. And, you know, you got to find your buy box, right? What is your buy box? Where are you comfortable at? But they're working, you know, they're looking at $12 million ground up development prices. But the first things first, someone in a small rural area who's just trying to get started, who has some land, is do a feasibility study. Right, a feasibility study will tell you if your market is underserved or overserved with self-storage. Right, if your market is overserved with self-storage and you build it, people won't come. Right, because there's too many self-storage units in that market already. So you building another one isn't going to help the situation. So you need to find markets that are underserved with self-storage if you plan on being ground up development.
And did that guy Joe, can you type his name into the chat, and then does he have like a mastermind or course or somewhere that people can go and podcast or something to learn about?
Yeah, I'll put his first name and last name in there. He does have a mastermind. I want to say it's called the Self Storage Syndicate. So let me see here. I had to pull him up on Facebook.
Cool.
Because his last name is like super hard to spell. It's like evangelist or something like that. He's deep in. Oh, and of course on Facebook, only Joey. Yeah, so here we go.
Well, so
yeah,
that's
so-
in the,
Yeah.
it's in the chat. Thank you, Randall. Do you
Randy,
want to
I got one other
yeah.
thing. Does the property management software calculate your market rents for you or give suggestions, or is that something you just figure out on your own?
Man, so super easy, right? Everything's online nowadays. So you can literally Google self-storage near me, right? Go to a couple facilities. 9 times out of 10, their rents are online. Then you can combine the average. You say, okay, hey, market rent right here in this area, ranges from $90 to $110. You average it out and be like, okay, I'm gonna be at 95, right? Or they have a website called Radius Plus. It is another underwriting tool that we use to figure out what the market rent is in your 3, 5, or 7 mile radius. So if you go Raleigh, North Carolina, and your facility, is off of, the main road there, you can literally go to your facility, pull in a circle, and it will tell you what the average rents over a 12-month span is, or 10 by 10, 10 by 20, a 10 by 15, climate controlled, non-climate controlled, drive up, you name it. They have all these little buttons and tabs that you can press.
You said that was Radius Plus?
I'll type it in the chat.
Randall, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
This is Raghu here, Randall. We have spoken before in the last webinar. So you mentioned about an average cost per square foot would be between $25 and $70, but it's based on land, area, and so on. Right? So, for example, what are the different factors? How do you get to a cost price based on the region? Like, for example, Charlotte and Raleigh might be a lot more expensive, right? So how do you compare that, or how do you gauge that this is the right price I'm paying for it?
Yeah, so your price is going to be pretty much the same, because right now for my facility I pay $31.25 per square foot, including land, right? So if you are at if you're buying acres of land, what they today I learned, if you're paying $5 a square foot for an acre of land, your numbers are going to pencil out. So $5 a square foot for land, right? But then you put in your building, your dirt, your concrete, and all that, you're going to be somewhere under $7 a square foot, all in total cost.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Welcome.
So Radius Plus, Heron, was the website to use for rent comps. And
Right.
then
It also
go ahead.
So Radius Plus, it does market rent analysis. It also gives you the square foot per capita. So square foot per capita means, hey, there's 100,000 people in Raleigh. There's 100,000 net rentable square foot, which means there's 1 square foot per person. Software for rental management, I use, there's plenty out there. So if you were to Google property management software for self-storage, you would get all, there's like 6 of them. So I use Easy Storage Solutions. That's pretty user-friendly. There's SiteLink, there's Storable, there's Storage. There's just so many online softwares that you could use.
What kind of insurance do you have, and what is the cost of that?
So for me, I have liability insurance, I have an umbrella policy, I have a wrongful sale coverage, which means, you know, if Amanda pays on time and Martin doesn't, but I make the mistake and I sell Amanda stuff, my insurance will pay her up to $5,000 in event, you know, for her items. I do not provide insurance and I do not insure the tenant's items. That's where the tenant protection comes in.
Well, and then, did you say you already refinanced with a commercial loan?
I have not refinanced, but I'm in the process of doing that.
Randall, how do you, like, I know I was surprised when you show the case study. I thought that, I know end of the day, the numbers matter, numbers what dictates your buy or sell, right? But, you know, I mean, when I'm looking around, like, you know, I mean, if I go to any like LoopNet or Cred, right? I don't see the price of self-storage businesses being cheap. How do you scout? I know you mentioned a wholesaler and you know you went past that last time, but any kind of a better advice you could give us, that way, you know, we can better target in different areas where we want to concentrate on.
So yeah, it's like anything else, right? You have an underwriting model, right? And that's where your buy box comes in. So for instance, I only buy value add self-storage facilities with room to expand, you know, on a busy street, you know, with room to increase rents, right? So when I underwrite at, I underwrite it at market rent. It's just an Excel document that I use that gives me what I'll pay for it. It's just like buying a multifamily apartment complex.
And I got you, sure. Because, you know, I mean, I'm trying to get in and, you know, having a mentor like will be of you, like you would be of great help.
Yeah. So, you know, I do a self-storage networking event on Wednesdays at 11 to 12, where we coach, teach, and mentor, and we teach people how to get into self-storage, how to underwrite self-storage. Right. Today, we had a commercial banker who focused on self-storage come in and give a 30-minute presentation on that. Then that's Wednesdays from 11 to 12.
How do we enroll, Randall, if I may ask?
It's on Zoom, so if you want, you can send me I'll type my number in the chat.
Please.
Or my Facebook name. That's my Facebook, and here's my number. So if you want to message me your name and what you're interested in, I will send you the Zoom link. You register from 11 to 12.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Are there lenders that will loan against the property with a HELOC?
So I don't think I have not found a lender that will use a home equity line of credit there, but they will do a BLOC, which is a business line of credit. Unsecured, secured, things like that.
And Terrence asked if there's a way to protect, you know, against others coming into your market and undercutting.
No, there's not. You just got to be prepared for it. And again, that's what I spoke about earlier, is having that customer service, those 5-star reviews on Google, right? Providing that value that other client isn't.
Cool. I think this was super helpful, you know, to give a deep dive in self-storage, you know, the case study. Anybody else have a question for Randall?
Now
Cool.
everybody knows everything all about self-storage.
Yes, I did my job.
That's
Your
right.
work here is done.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming. I'm gonna go downstairs and eat and network and talk self-storage. Please, my name is on there, my phone number is on there, right? Did I put it on there?
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Send me a message. I'll send you the Zoom link. And I look forward to hearing from y'all and helping y'all find deals and, get into self-storage.
For
Cool.
sure.
Thanks,
for
Randall.
sure.
Have fun.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Randall. You too for everything. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Leslie.
All righty. Everybody stay safe.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bye.
Do these people not know how to hit a fucking leave button?
Man, I don't know. It's
What
weird.
the hell?
Yeah.
Sit there, sit there, sit there, sit there, sit there. All righty. We gotta get that shit to Ally, I guess, huh?
The Vimeo account?
No, the forms. Did you
What form?
not do a mentorship application form with Lionel? Do we not have one?
Yeah. Oh, she wants to put it online?
She needs us to do it in Google Forms so that she can send it, so we can have them on the website.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I'll work on those, but it's not
There's a
gonna be.
mentorship one. I can do a volunteer one if you like. There's 4 different forms she's asking for.
Did she send an email? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, she sent it today.
We haven't put it on yet.
I'll check it out. I'll work on it.
Okay, we gotta get that done and photos too. Anyway. All righty.
Okay,
All right.
see you.
Have fun.
All right, thanks. Bye.
You don't use it.